All right, here today we have Fred House, the VP of Detection Engineering and Innovation here at Expel. Got a couple of questions for you, Fred, and then we're going to round out the session with what we call a very important question, which is it's going to be a wild card that I'm actually going to draw from this Expel mug right here. It's full of fun, very important questions. All right, please introduce yourself here. I just gave away your title, so there's that. But introduce yourself and kind of give us a brief overview of your career. Curious to hear.
Sure thing. Yeah, my name's Fred. I'm the Vice President of Detection Engineering and Innovation, and I lead two functions at Expel. One is the Detection Engineering Organization, which is responsible for figuring out how we're going to ingest all of the signal we receive from various security products and data sources, and ultimately what we're going to put in front of the SOC to work on, as well as the data science function. And so the goal there is to increasingly apply data science to how we do the former. So a quick overview of my career. I studied computer science and computer engineering at Virginia Tech, and I did software engineering for, I'd say, probably about the first decade of my career. I fell into cybersecurity around 2010 through circumstance, really, and got my introduction on the offensive side, working in computer network operations. I did that for a few years and then decided I wanted to learn the defensive side of cybersecurity, and someone suggested I check out this small little company called Mandiant. And so I joined Mandiant and worked in incident response there, which is ultimately how I ended up Expel. For those of you that know, there's a lot of former Mandiant folks that both founded Expel and were early employees. But anyway, was at Mandiant for a couple years. They got acquired in that process by a company called FireEye. And with my engineering background, I gravitated towards the product side of the company. So I stopped being a incident response consultant and was working on making the products better at detecting things. I'm starting with endpoint and then expanding to a lot of the additional types of products that FireEye had. They got acquired through private equity, and I did that for a few years. And then ultimately, through my previous connections with folks, former Mandiant employees, I made my way to Expel.
I didn't know you were a Hokie. That's exciting. Are you a Hokie Athletics fan? I feel like every now and then they have a pretty good football team that comes through.
There's a tiny rubber chicken behind me with a Virginia Tech jersey on. That's a
There we
story
go.
for another time. But yes, I'm a avid Virginia Tech fan. I go to Blacksburg. I used to go to Blacksburg very consistently pre-COVID for at least one football game a year. Virginia Tech played Rutgers last year, which was the last 2 years, and last 2 years ago in here in New Jersey, where I live now. So that was a lot of fun. I got to see them locally. But yeah,
Very cool.
big football fan.
All right. So next question, you've already kind of alluded to this about how you found your way to Expel, beyond kind of who you knew here. I mean, obviously people is a huge part of working at a company. Beyond that, kind of what drew you to Expel and maybe what's your favorite part of working here?
As soon as I started the interview process, it didn't take long before I knew it was a good fit for me. And the reason was because of maybe this comes off as a little bit cheesy, but it is really the mission focus. That was what my job was when I was working on the offensive side, very mission focused. When I joined Mandiant, under Kevin Mandia's leadership, that was what it was all about. Yes, obviously we were a consulting practice trying to make money, but there wasn't anybody that was doing it for that reason. It was really about stopping bad guys. And through various circumstances as my career evolved, and Mandiant went to FireEye, and FireEye became Trellix, and et cetera. I lost a little bit of the connection with the mission. And when I started interviewing with Expel, and I think that's partially because a lot of what the folks that founded Expel and the early adopters came from Mandiant, that mission focus is still very present to this day. And I would also just add that, you hear pretty much any leader in the cybersecurity industry will talk about how it's about the mission, but when some people talk about it, you believe it more than others.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin and the folks that the leadership here at Expel, it falls in that category of really. It's not, yes, we're in business to earn money at the end of the day, but actually we get up in the morning and do this because we're fighting a good cause. You also asked another question that I didn't answer, which is my favorite part of working here. And I would say, I talked about all the mission. That's what brought me here. I do think that's a big part of it. I would also add the culture side of Expel. It's very real, and I underestimated it and didn't appreciate it. And I think maybe being a bit of a pessimist or something, I don't know. You see companies that get listed as the best places to work, and I usually discount that. I'm like, it's probably because they have unlimited PTO or good bonuses or something.
Yeah.
And that was probably because I worked in some places in the past that didn't have a strong culture, and I didn't know what great felt like. And so that is still very much present in Expel and has survived Expel's growth over the years. And so that it makes it a very nice place to work.
What's something about Expel you don't think a lot of people know, but maybe they should?
Another thing that I didn't appreciate until I got here was the commitment to self improvement, and I don't I'm referring more to like, if we take too long to build a widget, going back and asking why that was and how we can improve. And I know it's as my organization has tried to scale, we've moved fast and made good decisions and made bad decisions, and going back and revisiting those and improving on that. So I think the cross-functional teamwork, like collaborating with product and engineering and my team, so software engineering and then detection and response engineering, I think that's pretty well done here. And I think, I kind of came in and it was like, I really appreciated the way leadership talked about conflict and things like that. There should be conflict, and we have to escalate gracefully when there is. And all of those kinds of things and that self awareness within the company and within the leadership is ultimately what makes it feel safe for folks to take chances and work well together and all of that. So I think maybe I'll summarize that really long answer with just like a high level of self awareness
Mm.
within leadership that I think has trickled down throughout the organizations and makes people feel comfortable working together and the pros and cons of doing that. And I'll give another example, and I'll say this, and this is true, right? I think I probably went years in my career as a leader without getting critical feedback, like constructive criticism. And that's not because I was perfect. It's because the places I worked didn't have the self-awareness to do that. And I've had several times since I've joined Expel where it's like, Fred, you could have handled this situation differently, or the way you addressed this could have been better. And I love it because it's like, you know what, I want to self-improve. And if I left a meeting and didn't handle it well or something else, like by all means, please give me that feedback. And I see that happen here, as well as the kudos when people do well. So
Mhm.
I love that. I love the real-time feedback and that, folks aren't afraid to say, tell people when they did well and where they can improve. I think that's really important and something that like at least based on my experiences, often does not happen.
All right, so we learned that you're a hokey during the past, little bit. What else? Something a lot of people don't know about you? You got any hidden talents or anything like that?
I would say what folks usually don't know about me is that I've lived overseas a
Ah,
pretty decent amount of time. I lived in Argentina for a year, and I lived in the United Arab Emirates for 3 years. I also speak Spanish at I would say an advanced tourist level, maybe a tourist level, basic tourist level. I'm sort of, and I speak French at certainly at an advanced tourist level, perhaps
hmm,
even higher than that.
very good. Did you pick up? Was that the result of immersion, or are you like hitting up Duolingo every day? Like, what's your go-to as far as learning new languages?
Spanish was the result of me moving to Argentina and trying very hard to not be the guy that, spoke to everyone in English.
The guy.
And I was there a year, and the lead up, the preparation to going there, followed by living there for a year, was where I got my Spanish to a certain level. Um, Fortunately, I met a woman there who was French, and then that changed my trajectory of learning Spanish very quickly. And so
Understood.
I've been married for a while now to my French spouse, and that would
Amazing.
explain my some semi proficiency in.
That is a great answer and is much better than Duolingo, I must say.
Yeah.
We're going to hop to our last question here, which is the true, very important question of the interview. All right. If you could instantly transfer one skill from any fictional character to yourself, what would that skill be?
Yeah, I'm trying to do better than like, Superman, I can fly kind of answer. I'm trying to think of something more creative.
Give you mine and see if it stirs up your juices. Mine was the Force, so I would take the Force from Luke Skywalker. That's kind of a lame one too, but I just really want to be able to use the Force, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, yeah, bending other people to your will is
That's right.
certainly be nice. It would come in handy in both personal and work life.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, maybe I'll go with like the ability. I'm just gonna go with like who could go invisible? Was it like Wonder Woman with the lasso or something like that?
I mean, honestly, being invisible would be cool. So no shame in that. No shame in that. That sounds good.
Not in the sense of like I want to hide from the world, but more in the sense of I can use it to achieve other motives and goals, maybe a little bit. Yeah.
All right, Fred House, appreciate you hopping on with us.